Hey y'all, welcome back to week 3 of the Every Bit Counts challenge, and it's hosted by Jessica at Three Rivers Homestead, and she's challenging us to preserve something every day in the month of August. And as you can see, I have got a lot of stuff to preserve, and I had a lot of great successes and I had 2 failures, and please don't do what I did. I'll go over with you what I did and what you shouldn't do. But I am excited to get started on this first one. It is called Ugly Chicken, and it is really simple and easy if you don't have a whole lot of time. This is the easiest recipe you can do if you're just learning to pressure can. So I'm going to show you how to do it. It's really easy. You just cut up the chicken and put it in a jar. You don't have to add any liquid. It's really, really easy, and it's so delicious to have on your shelf. Anything that you have a recipe for shredded chicken, you can use that. And it makes the most delicious chicken salad. And also, if you can your own relish, that makes it even better too. Put it in enchiladas and a chicken pie. There's just so many things that you can do with this. So I'm going to go ahead and get started and show you how to make this ugly chicken. Alright, I've got my jars nice and clean and washed in hot soapy water, and I've got a teaspoon or a half a teaspoon of salt in each one. You'll use a teaspoon if you're using quarts. And now I'm just going to put the chicken in there. I cut it up into cubes, and that little pieces of fat that's left, I'm going to save that and make some chicken broth with it, or add it to some chicken. And now I'm going to fill my jars, and you don't want to mash down really hard, but you want to press down a little bit and eliminate those little air pockets so you can get more chicken in there. And also you want a generous 1-inch headspace on there, so make sure you don't bring it all the way up to 1 inch, but you don't want to pack them down in there either. And then we'll just wipe the rim of the jar clean and put the washed lids and rings on there. And I've got more than is going to fit at the bottom, so I'm just going to take a rack. I've got an extra rack here, and I'm going to put that in the middle, and then I'll add the other jars at the top, and I'll pressure can these for 75 minutes in the pressure canner. And I don't know why they call it ugly chicken, but I think it's beautiful. All these jars are going to go on the shelf, and they're going to be so good in the wintertime. You've got to make these. If you don't make anything else in the pressure canner, you've got to make this chicken. It is so good and so easy to do. Okay, here are my failures. I'm having to freeze these instead of can them because I made a big mistake. When reading the recipe, please follow it closely, because I put the salt in there, and I put 4 tablespoons of salt, and I looked again at the recipe and it said 4 teaspoons. So I ruined my sauce just because I didn't look carefully enough at the recipe. So please don't make that mistake. I did have to put some more tomatoes in there, and then I kind of doctored it up. So it's still going to be good. It's not thrown in the trash, but it's going to have to be frozen instead of canned, and it's not going to last as long as it would if I had canned it properly. And this was my second failure. It looked like it was sealed, so I waited like a day or two to wash my jar, so I took off the ring and I pushed down on the seal, and it was not really sealed. It made a slight noise, so I knew that I could not use this and I had to throw it away. If it would have been 12 hours or sooner than 24 hours, I could have reprocessed it or put it in the refrigerator, but since it did not can, I had to throw it away because it had been over 24 hours. But if it's improperly canned, if I left out something, I only had 2 hours, so at least I had 12 hours or up to 24 hours to check it, and I didn't. So sadly, I have to throw it away. So don't do what I did. Today I'm going to ferment some salsa. I've just got everything chopped up in a bowl, and I'll have the recipe linked down below in the description box. And I'm just going to put it in my jar, and I didn't have one of those tapper things, but I bought one after this. But I'm just going to try and mash it down so all that liquid will come to the top, because you do not want anything floating on top, and that could make mold. So we're going to try and bring all the juices to the top. Alright, so now I'm just going to put the weights on, and then this will go on the top, and that little nipple right there has a little hole in there where it lets the air out, but it doesn't let anything in. And then I'm just going to screw the bands on top, and I'll stick them on top of my refrigerator, And I'll try one in 2 days and then one in 4 days, and we'll see how we like it. Okay, this is my fermented salsa that I fermented for 4 days. The other one was for 2 days, and it was still a little bit salty, but this one tastes a lot better than that one. So I think I'll go 4 days next time. Kind of forgot about it, but I'm glad I did because this is really good. It's really good for your digestive system, your gut, because it's fermented. And also, you can put it in the fridge and it'll last for a month or so, but this probably won't last till the end of the day. Okay, I'm going to start on my barbecue sauce. I'm excited. I've never canned barbecue sauce before, but I've got my tomatoes washed and I've got an X in them so I can peel them really easily, and I've got them in some boiling water. And as soon as the skins start to slip off a little bit, I'll put them in some ice water. And some of these tomatoes that I bought, these are the ones that I bought, and you do not want to use these that are kind of have like the yellow or the white stuff on there. They've been sitting there too long, and sometimes they have like a little soft spot. You don't want to use those for canning. You can use these for eating or for freezing if you want to cut them into pieces, but I don't can with these, especially the ones with the black spot. Even if you cut that off, it could still be all throughout the tomato, so you don't want to preserve that, but you can eat that. So okay, after I took the peels off, I took the cores out and quartered them up. Okay, I've got my tomatoes in a large pot. It calls for 3 cups of onions, so I am going to use my chopper here, and it says finely chopped, so I'm going to use the small blades. And I've got some of these onions from my garden that I'm going to chop up and use those up. It calls for 3 cups of finely chopped onions, so I'm using my Vidalia onion chopper. This thing is a miracle worker. You get out all your frustrations out, and plus it chops for you. Okay, I've already got 2 cups of onions in there, so all I'm going to do is add 1 more cup to make 3. Okay, I have my onions, my garlic, and my tomatoes in here, so I'm going to bring this up to a boil, and then I keep saying boil, I say boil. I'm going to boil this. I'm going to boil this for 30 minutes, and then we'll simmer it for a little bit until the vegetables get tender. Okay, after it's simmered, I ran it through my KitchenAid and got it all nice and saucy. Okay, I have my strained tomatoes here. It calls for 2 cups of dark brown sugar. All I had was regular brown sugar, and I didn't have quite 2 cups, so I made my own. I just put in 1 cup of regular sugar and 1 tablespoon of molasses and made my own. So this is 1 cup right here. I'll get that out in a minute. And then here is my other cup. Put that in. These are my spices. I have salt. It called for garlic powder. I didn't have garlic powder, but there's garlic in there, so I put onion powder. It's got mustard and salt and paprika, and it called for smoked paprika, but all I had was regular. And it called for some chili powder or some kind of hot powder, but all I did was put some chipotle chili powder in there, and I just put a couple dashes because I don't want it really hot. So I'll have the complete recipe link down below, so I'll put all that down there. Calls for 1.5 cups of apple cider vinegar. The recipe called for bourbon, but all I had was some Seagram 7, so I just substituted that. All right, y'all, I've stirred it up, and you want to put it on the burner back again, and you're going to heat it to a boil. And you're going to let it boil, and then you're going to simmer it for 1.5 to 2 hours until it gets like a dark, rich color. I cannot wait. Okay, my sauce is ready. It's nice and thick, so I'm going to start canning it. This is a water bath, so it won't take but 20 minutes to do this. So it does take a while to make it, but it only takes 20 minutes to cook it, and it's going to be so delicious on your shelf in a couple months. I hope this barbecue sauce tastes as good as it looks. These are some beautiful jars, and they all sealed, so I'm going to check them in 12 hours. I'm going to make sure I check them and that they're sealed, and if they're not sealed, I can reprocess them, or I can just stick them in the refrigerator and use them in a couple months. So I'm excited to try this out. Today I'm making some oven roasted marinara. I've never made it before, so I'm excited to try it. Got lots of tomatoes here. I've got some here that I've weighed out. It calls for 20 pounds. So I've got these waiting. I've got these washed. Okay, I cut up my tomatoes and put them in the oven and roasted them, but make sure you use not use an aluminum pan, because I did that and the pan turned black. So make sure it's stainless steel or glass. All right, I've got 2 batches out of the oven, 2 more batches in, and now I've got a cup and a half of onions here that I've chopped, and I don't have any room because I can't put them in lengthwise. So I'm going to wait for those to come out, and then I will put these in there for 20 minutes. Okay, it's the next day, and I'm going to run these tomatoes that I roasted last night through the food mill. I've got 2 bowls of these. I'm going to start on this one. All right, y'all, this is the aftermath. It looks like a tomato bloodbath. I've got tomatoes all over the place. Splashed all over my countertop. Then I've got a mess from breakfast and lunch, and then I got a fussy baby over here and a bunch of vegetables over there. So but it's going to be a great day because we are preserving some things. We're going to make us some sauce. So it is all good. Okay, I ran the tomatoes through the KitchenAid strainer, and now I'm going to add the rest of my ingredients. I added a cup of dry red wine. I thought it smelled so good, but then I tasted it and it kind of tasted like rubbing alcohol to me, but it still smelled good. All right, and then I'm going to add a tablespoon of salt, a tablespoon of oregano. It calls for 6 cloves of garlic, but my garlic was bad, so I went ahead and just substituted garlic powder. I also added some black pepper, and it did call for 2 bay leaves, but of course I only had 1. Okay, I also cooked it down for a couple of hours to get it to a thicker consistency, and I did add in onions. I forgot to show you that, and then I've simmered it for a couple of hours. So now I'm going to add half a cup of lemon juice. I've got my jars over here heating up. I've got 8 pints. You can use quarts, but I'm just getting those jars heated up, and I'm going to get everything ready to start canning it. I hope y'all enjoyed following along with this Every Bit Counts challenge. I am loving it so far. I cannot wait to show y'all week 3, so I hope to see y'all in the next video.